So I just received a couple of great emails in regards to questions from the audience. Now in today's video, we're gonna summarize all the questions that I'm getting regarding tickets, speeding tickets, violations, what should drivers do. So I got a really cool email with a few questions there, and I also took some comments and questions that we got from the fans over the last 6 months, and I compiled everything that has to do around with tickets and violations. So here's a guy that is 26 years old, he's from Ontario, he watches our YouTube videos all the time and says thank you so much. So the question is, I have 5 speeding tickets on my license and I drive a dump truck with my DZ license, but I have an AZ license as well. The company I work for is only letting me drive DZ, and it feels like they don't want me to drive AZ for a long time. No other company is willing to hire me due to my speeding ticket. So when I saw this email, I was floored and I was shocked. First of all, because the driver, how in the world do you get 5 speeding tickets? That's for me question number one. 5 speeding tickets. So you got speeding ticket number 1, speeding ticket number 2. That didn't teach you a lesson. You get speeding ticket number 3, number 4, and number 5 on your record. And you have the audacity to say that they will not upgrade you into their AZ fleet. No shit. You understand the risk that you are, not just for the trucking company, for society, for an insurance company. This is really, really bad news. I'm gonna be a little harsh, but I truly think that you should say thank you every day when you wake up that the company that you're working for is still allowing you to work at their fleet, even as a DZ driver. In our fleet, you wouldn't last past your first one, maybe in the rare occasion your second one, but my God, 5 tickets and you're still there. No other company is willing to hire me due to my speeding tickets. Well, I guess you understood that, probably when you were looking for a job or anywhere that you're looking for, the second they see your record, nobody will ever hire you. So why? Let me get into why the companies will not hire you, okay? So if any company does hire you with multiple speeding tickets, they are taking a risk. Not only they personally are taking a risk. So if, God forbid, you get into an accident and there's a fatality there, all right, right away you can be sure that the owners of that company are going to get dragged into a lawsuit. Already owners of companies are getting dragged into lawsuits because of their negligence, but in a case like this, it is black and white. There's absolutely no defense for it. If you get on the road with a tractor trailer and there's a fatality and you are proven guilty for negligence of any sort, your company is also going to be proven guilty for negligence because they hired you, because the red flags were there that you are a risk, and if something happens on the road, God forbid, then the company is going to be dragged into the lawsuit. They're already going to be dragged into the lawsuit, but then somebody else is going to have teeth on that company. So not only is the company going out of business, not only is there going to be a $10-15 million lawsuit that they will get awarded if, God forbid, something happens because they hired you. Now, if the company doesn't have 10 or 15 million, guess what? The directors and owners of that company, they're getting dragged in personally into this lawsuit. Why? Because they allowed for somebody to hire a driver with multiple speeding tickets. Very, very, very important information. Your hiring criteria should state that you will only allow, or you will only hire drivers with, maximum of 2 demerit points, with no more than 1 infraction in the last 2 years. You have to be really strict with your hiring policies, and if you follow those hiring policies, either way you're gonna get dragged into the lawsuit, but you will at least have a defense for yourself. As you've probably seen out there, that when companies are starting to get dragged into lawsuits, especially when there's fatalities, the amounts that the lawsuits are for are 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. Like, these numbers are outrageous, and they don't care about the trucking company too much. I mean, obviously the trucking company is going to close down, and there have been a few of them. I think I made a mention of it in my last video that there was a company that closed down because of a $10 million lawsuit. So if the company doesn't have the money to pay for it, and in some cases of negligence, then they're going after the directors of that company. Now, I will not put myself or my family in that risk just in order to hire a driver with a few speeding tickets. I mean, he or she can tell me all they want about why they got the speeding ticket and how much they're not at fault. Well, you know what? You have the opportunity to prove why you're not at fault, because you should not be paying off those tickets. You need to be fighting it off. Why? Because if you fight off your traffic ticket, then that is not going to be going on your record, or at least you have a chance of settling for something lower. I don't know if I told any one of you this, but when I was here in 2005, 6, and 7, it was my responsibility. One of my job duties was to fight off every single ticket. So I would have to get a hold of, the court. I would have to apply for a trial or for a date, and then I would try to settle with the Crown for a lesser sentence. So we ask for the disclosure, which is basically everything that they have on the driver. So sometimes they have video footage, sometimes they have, if there's a speeding ticket, they have to make sure that the gun is working before and after every time they get a truck. So that's part of the disclosure. There's a lot of stuff that is part of the disclosure. These attorneys, what they do is they go through the disclosure and see where they're off. If they made a mistake at the ticket, if they made a spelling error, if they made anything that the officer did wrong, will get this speeding ticket or any ticket thrown out in the garbage. So next part of the question, same email, same guy. Would you recommend that I wait until my tickets are off of my license, or do you suggest I look for something else? They will be off my record in 2024. So in all honesty, you can look as much as you want, but I don't feel like there would be a company that would be willing to hire you with those 5 speeding tickets. They'll be off your record in 2024. I highly recommend that you keep your DZ job, whatever it is that you're doing right now, and you continue to work until 2024. Get those tickets off of your record, and only then should you apply for a position once they're no longer on your record. I would like to buy my own pre-emissions truck. Do you think it would be worth it? I don't like the new trucks. I think that this driver maybe likes the flat nose trucks. This driver maybe likes the older trucks. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely not. I personally myself do not think that the older trucks are worth it. The amount of money you're going to be spending on fuel is just not worth it for me. I would much rather have a newer truck, have a lot of savings in fuel consumption than these older units. I believe that the older units are money pits. A lot of people here are going to disagree with me. I just feel like as a fleet owner that these older units, when you're running 100 trucks, 50 trucks, 40 trucks, doesn't matter how many trucks, you know, the difference of 6.5 miles per gallon versus 8.5 miles per gallon is a world of difference. We're talking about between $2,000 to $3,000 a month per unit that you're going to be spending more on fuel if you go for those older flat nose trucks. Here's another question from somebody else. So completely different guy. I read the comment on our YouTube comment. So, hi Ronan, I got a speeding ticket 8 miles over. So driving 8 miles over in Pennsylvania. Do you recommend I spend $750 in legal fees to try and make it go away? Or should I just pay the fine? So I honestly don't think that you should be paying the fine. You should try to do everything you can in your power, especially it's your first one. You know, the crowns are somewhat lenient if you can show that you've been working for the last 10 years and you can show that this is your first speeding ticket and you were 8 over, and really look into the disclosure and make sure that that officer was on his A game, because if he was not on his A game and he had something wrong with that ticket, then I can prove that, you know, you are a good driver that's been driving for 5 or 6 years and this officer was not on his A game if there's a mistake on that ticket. And a speeding ticket is like a bullseye on your record. You don't want that. So do everything you can to try to avoid, and do not pay that fine. Spend the $750. And if you still lose, then at least you tried. Another driver, another comment. So I have an overweight ticket. The company wants me to pay legal fees to make it go away. Should I? Now, in this situation, I would say no, you should not try to make it go away. Why? Because overweight tickets really have nothing to do with you. So you as a company driver, if you're working for somebody in a fleet, only when it's your own authorities, then you would get affected. But overweight ticket, if you're working for a company, that doesn't go on your personal driving record. That has nothing to do with you. It goes on the company's SMS. Now, if they're telling you to fight it off, as long as you did everything right, I don't think that you should be paying for that ticket, and I don't think that you should be held liable for that. I don't think it's your ticket to fight. The company should be fighting it off. Here, any load that is over 40,000 pounds, the driver has to scale. Now, if the driver scaled and did his job, then there should be absolutely no reason why he should get an overweight ticket. And if the company does not have a policy that you have to scale, then it really is not your fault. I think that it is the company's fault. If there's a policy in place that any load over 40,000 pounds should be taken to a scale, then yes, then it's the driver's fault, but I still don't think that the driver should be paying for the legal fees for that ticket. What about logbook violations? Should I get an attorney for a logbook violation? In my opinion, absolutely. Logbook violations, I would try to fight it off, especially if it's your first one or even if it's your second one. I will do everything in my power in order to try to save my driving record. That driving record could be the difference of you getting a job 70 cents per mile versus 75 cents per mile. Now, if you think about these $750 lawyer fees versus the amount of money that you could be making if you you were to have a much better job. Now, the good jobs, they will not hire you if you have a logbook violation. They will not hire you if you have 3 or 4 citations on your driver's license. I mean, if you didn't do a proper PTI, I could tell that within 5 minutes if a driver does do his PTI and versus the drivers that don't do their PTI based on their violation. So in closing, should you pay lawyer fees in order to get your driving record clean? So I believe absolutely. It's your driving record and it's a difference for you to get a good job versus a bad job. I truly believe having a clean record outweighs the $750 fee. In any situation out there, I would try to fight off these tickets, whatever ticket you get on the road. Hope you learned something from this video. This is just my take. I am not a licensed safety and compliance manager by any means, just giving you my insight on what I've seen over the last few years, what we recruit, what we don't recruit. And the guy with the 5 speeding tickets, honestly, you need to get your shit together. So guys, thank you again for all your questions, all your emails. If you want to email me, if you have any questions, put a series of questions down together. I'll be more than happy to do a video on it. You can email me at sponsorship@ettransport.ca. Those emails come directly to me. So I'm Ronen, R-O-N-E-N, and I'll catch you in my next video.